How's it going, folks?
Good, how are you?
All right.
Well, let me turn off waiting room.
Hi,
Hey. Everybody, just another minute. Is that Jazzy?
No, Jazzy's responding to the dog that she heard.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my dog. I'm gonna mute my mic so you don't have to listen to her.
Your dog and my dog are talking.
We can make a cool Instagram, dogs of Zoom.
Yeah. And I was going to tell you, missed a riveting planning commission meeting last night.
Well, last night was Kelsey's last evening at home, and we did homemade pasta and we carved a pumpkin. So I was
Nice.
sorry to miss the
Sounds-
planning commission, but
No.
not that sorry.
Yeah, you would
I
have
dropped her
ended
at the Dartmouth coach at 4:40 this morning.
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ted, I have a question for you. Do you
Sure.
want to sign the ash management grant application, or do you want me to sign it?
I'm perfectly happy to have you sign it if you are authorized. I mean, it depends. It depends on what Forest and Parks requires.
Okay. Well, I put that I was the project contact person,
Yep.
but I don't
I mean,
have to be.
Yeah, well, no, that's fine. I'm perfectly happy to have you be the contact person. It's just some state agencies say it must be signed by the head of the legislative body, which means the select board chair. If that's the case, then it has to be me. But if it's any person so authorized by the select board, you are hereby so authorized. I just did that.
Yeah,
So-
there's 3 select board members.
So your name
Sorry?
name is on the application as the liaison for the public. Yours and mine and Phil. I think that's it.
Yeah. But as I say, if it, depending on what Forest and Parks requires.
I will
but,
check.
Okay, but no, I'm perfectly comfortable with you signing off on that if that's allowable.
Just so you know, it is not finished yet. There's still a lot to do, but
No,
I'm working on
understood.
it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anybody have any additions? Gary is gonna be late. He's like testifying or something. But he didn't have any updates other than to tell everybody to be cautious. So, I will have one thing to there's a shoot, I put it on a Facebook. What are they called? The farm to family boxes. God. In Bradford, and I was trying to look up when that is. But the registration, they're like doing a different registration form this time. It is October 22nd. So if you have anybody, I don't know if anybody needs that info, I can put the link in the chat.
You mind sending it to me by email, Monique?
Yeah, no problem.
I'm just curious. I've been communicating with Kelsey. Is there a second one of those happening?
There's one in, I think there's more scheduled in Newbury.
Gotcha. Yeah. So she's asked that we send that out via Infinite Campus. Would you like me to send your announcement out via Infinite?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. So I got it from Growing Peace Project. I hadn't heard it from anybody else. So I don't know why necessarily. It's not showing up on the state website at all. So it's a little bit bizarre, but.
Do you want to check on that before I send it out, or you want me to just send it out?
a Ramsey or like, I don't know. Is it, there's no reason to think it's like not legitimate, right?
No, I think it's legitimate. I know there's one
Okay.
in Bethel on the 30th. And I hadn't seen the Bethel one listed last time I had looked online, but
Okay.
I had seen a Bradford one or Newberry one.
Okay, good.
couple.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and she just said something like they're trying to not share this too broadly, which I think the point was that the last time Bradford had one, it was not Bradford citizens that signed up. It was mostly like Corinth and Reigate and Topsom and that kind of stuff. So I think that's why they're. So Bruce, I mean,
So
if
the
it's going
last
out to
one-
students, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the one that I just
that is
saw.
that is a question that I had for Kelsey was, who do you want me to send this to? And she hasn't responded yet. So same question for you. Should it just go to Bradford, or do you want it to go more widely?
I don't know.
We
So
did-
the Bethel one that I saw said people had to sign up, and it was going to be a certain amount of time. Like they could come till I think 6 o'clock at night, but then if there were extra, if people didn't come pick up their reserved box by 6, they were going to give them out first come first serve. So
Yeah, this one said that same thing.
I feel like if people got, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if they were going to be in Bradford and Newberry, they're not designated to be just for Bradford people, would be my impression that it would be that area.
Yep.
Because they're not going to go to Bradford and Corinth and Thetford
Right,
and whatever. They're going to go to certain ones that are
Yeah.
serving the region, not just
Yeah.
the town. So
Yes, I think just send it out to the whole Infinite campus, Bruce, in both cases.
To all of our schools?
Yeah,
Okay, all right,
and I'll email you those so it's not in the chat.
okay.
Cool. I think that's all I've seen that was related to emergency management stuff. I don't have anything for communications otherwise than again for asking for forgiveness for sending so many emails. Ryan was teasing me because I sent like 10 last night to everybody, so sorry. There's just lots of important stuff going on. And volunteer coordination, Amy, Pastor Amy just gave me an update that she's still, she had a bunch of computer issues. She was working on the contacting seniors thing. So she's like still working on that, but to check in with people kind of over the winter. Sarah, do you want to, we'll start with you. I know sometimes you have limited time on here.
Yeah, I think I don't have a whole lot of updates other than just alerting folks in the business community that the next round of business relief grants are available. And I think in one of the 100 emails that Monique sent last night or this morning had some information on a webinar that businesses can attend in order to get some advice and help and support in applying. And otherwise, everyone Montpelier related is kind of campaign focused at this point.
Cool, thanks, Sarah. Ryan, do you want to share any town stuff?
Yeah. As far as resilience stuff, I don't think the town has any major updates. It does look like trunk or treat is going to happen for Halloween, so hopefully they have some safety precautions set. Other than that, I don't think there's any updates unless Ted can think of anything.
No, I don't have any. And just regarding the trunk or treat, and Carol, I think you can probably confirm or deny this. I believe both the Fair Association and the fire department are working together, and they said that they'll be following the guidelines put out by the State Department of Health regarding safety measures. Am I right about that, Carol?
Yes, you are.
Oh, and the question has come up whether or not Bradford is prohibiting door-to-door trick-or-treating. And I don't know where the select board would ever get the authority to do that. So while we're not actively encouraging it, we have not prohibited it. I mean, if people want to knock on somebody's door, we don't have the authority to stop them from doing that. So.
Yeah, I think this has been an up in the air question for a while. yeah, and so there's on Facebook, I think it's, at least in the group, it seemed like I definitely shared that you guys weren't taking a stance either way, and just be careful. And it seems like, so a lot of people said, I'm gonna be taking trick-or-treating, and I'm going to, and then as soon as Grafton County turned yellow, everybody's like, I don't actually think I'm gonna be giving out candy. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if there's like a universal sign for people, I guess their lights on, but whether or not they're taking trick-or-treaters, but yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So is the trunk or treat thing happening at the same time as the normal trick or treating happens, or is it at a different time? I just know that in our town, we're having something's happening at the school, like a trunk or treat type thing, and there are some signs that the group that does it usually put out that they said people could put at the end of their driveways or wherever to say, we're not giving out candy this year, but you can go to this location. So I was just curious if your things were happening at the same time or totally different.
Bradford is 5:30 to 7.
That's the same time.
So that might be an option to come up with some kind of sign that homeowners could put out. I mean, in our town, supposedly, you know, if you don't have your lights on, then people know you're not supposed to come trick or treat. It doesn't always work.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Ramsey. Let's see. Food access, I don't see Ashleen, but Bruce or Danielle, is there anything on the school front for food updates that you wanted to share at all?
Well, it's been a while now, so I don't know if people are aware that USDA extended the summer food program, so-called summer food program, for the rest of the school year up until June 30th, which is a huge benefit to everybody. And so it basically means free meals for any child that wants it. Right now, our schools, because of logistical reasons, have generally gone to what's called a closed system. That is to say, they're just feeding children that are enrolled in the school, whereas during the summer we were feeding any child under the age of 18. But all of the food service programs are operating, so in some ways it makes more sense just to do your own school population. So all 6 schools are doing that. And Newberry is an open system, so there is a grab and go for Newberry. And I can't remember actually right this moment whether Bradford is doing grab and go. Oxbow is not, Waits River is not, Thetford is not, and Blue Mountain is not. But by and large, we're feeding lots of kids again. It's been very good. And for the OUUSD, I mean, it's an added, in a sense, an added benefit in that the school had budgeted for provision 2, which would have meant free meals for all children, but it would have taken taxpayer money to support the non-free and reduced lunch students. Now we won't have to do that, so that is money that can be saved in this year's budget. Quite a bit of money, you know, close to 90,000 additional. The total now is 195,000 that has been cut out of the budget as no longer being necessary because of the federal program. So it's all good news generally. The only downside I will point out is that the OUUSD board has been committed to doing provision 2, and assuming that they wish to do that for next year, it will take it'll take a significant taxpayer effort to make that happen. You know, something in the neighborhood of $200,000 to make free meals available to every child in the 3 schools. But that's for a later date, right, Nicole?
Awesome. Danielle, did you have anything? We can just do schools. I know you might have a work call, so.
Yes, it seems quiet as of right now, but I
Okay.
just came through when I got on, so hopefully we're okay. Yeah, so sort of running off of what Bruce said, obviously we were super excited to see that the meals were continuing through the end of the year. I do think that that's great. Obviously, it does reduce the budget. That will be discussed tonight as far as what that will look like and what our new numbers will be. But it's looking like the budget's going to come down by almost $100,000, give or take. So we'll see where that lands tonight in our meeting. So that is definitely good news for taxpayers, especially, you know, we know that there's that stress. It is something that we're going to have to talk about down the road as far as trying to do Provision 2 next year. You know, what that's all going to look like next. As hard as this budgeting cycle has been, I think next year is also going to be a pretty tough budgeting cycle. And so trying to keep that in mind. And other than that, I just want to, and not that I want to give a plug to the schools. The schools are working unbelievably hard to keep everybody in the buildings safe and healthy. And obviously we had a local case, and that's scary and hard for everybody to sort of process through. And I think as a community, I think we did pretty well getting through that. And I think it's something that we need to keep in mind as we move forward. I know the anxiety level of my kids at the house has gone really, really high. And so it's something that we all, I think, if we can, is to take a deep breath and try to remember the kids that are trying to figure out their way through this, just like us adults. And you know, keep that in mind. They really do need our support, and we need to do everything we can to try and to be there and rally around them, and the staff and administrators at the schools. Everybody in our community just needs a little extra TLC right now. So that's just my, let's stick together pep talk, if you can call it that, because it's going to be a haul, I think. So
Cool. Thanks, Danielle. And there's a meeting tonight, right?
Correct. 5:30, Danielle?
yes, it is at 5:30. I'm sorry I was a little late posting
That's
that.
okay.
So I take full responsibility for that. I tried to sort of take vacation last week. Yeah, so yes, tonight at 5:30, we're hoping to keep it sort of, we hope to be done by 8-ish, to try and keep it reasonable. We are doing 2 meetings a month. So tonight we will discuss when our next meeting will be and what our meeting schedule will be. And once we have that set, then I can put those on calendars and make it easier for people to sort of know when we're meeting twice a month. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gail, while we're on the youth theme, do you have anything?
I don't have anything for youth right now, but the library specifically, but the library, people have been using our curbside services regularly and really bumming out that they can't come inside. But hopefully we'll be able to open our doors the first week of November. That's what we're pushing for. And I really wish that we could have a beautiful opening, because, you know, the work that was done for the grant and everything, it's really been really awesome. I think that the community will be really pleased with the accessibility and the new bathrooms and all the ADA compliant stuff that we've been able to do. So hopefully that's happening. And we have a book discussion starting tomorrow night with the Vermont Humanities. And it's a 3-part series, so anybody can jump on anytime, and I'll make sure that you get the books, even if I deliver them. And that's all that's happening, right? That's all I can say.
Cool. Thanks, Gail.
Thank you.
Nancy, do you want to share anything?
Only that we're still struggling with how mentors and mentees can get together, because we still have a policy that they're not allowed to ride in a car together. So we're working with Monique to figure out a way to connect them remotely. That's it.
Cool. Thanks, Nancy. Brian, is there any updates on youth sports?
We ran soccer clinics because we didn't have enough teams, enough kids for soccer, and enough teams to play against. The last one is coming up this weekend. We discussed the basketball situation, but as of right now, can't use Bradford Elementary School gym or the Bradford Academy gym. And so basically, you know, unless we start, you know, shoveling off snow off of outdoor courts, it's unlikely that we'll be able to do something. And I mean, of course, the big concern is that they shut down the hockey arenas in Vermont and New Hampshire because of the outbreaks. So I have a hard time believing that we're going to be able to do something for basketball. So, you know, we're waiting for more direction from the state, and you know, we'll see where it goes from there.
Cool. Thanks, Brian. Jumping back to business and financial. So just, yeah, that, the next grant round that Sarah mentioned, and then the Restart Vermont Technical Assistance Program. I've heard that that's starting, if not has run out of money, but that businesses should still be applying so that they can get on the wait list in case more money opens up. So if you know anybody who needs the contact for our area, I think I've sent this in email, but it is Erica at gmedc.com. So she's the COVID navigator for that. So that's businesses that need help, like maybe they need to buy an air filter, or they need help transitioning to e-commerce and setting up a website, or you know, they need to buy masks or whatever it is to adapt to COVID.
Hey, Mo,
yeah.
I'm not sure if anybody's had the conversation, but you know, I'm looking at potentially the businesses who may not need those funds this year, but because of the nature of their business, may need it next year. And I haven't seen anything that kind of addresses those types of issues. I think most of it is kind of a right now focus. And so, I mean, I don't know if you're talking to people about that, but that might be just something to bring up is, you know, how many of these businesses are going to be affected next year because of, you know, the limited sales that they're able to do this year, or, you know, those types of things.
Yeah, that's a Sarah. We tell Sarah, and Sarah fights for it.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, because I absolutely understand how that works with the seasonality of a lot of different businesses. So I hope and expect that when we get back into session in January, we will have another slug of COVID relief money, stimulus money, in order to help businesses. So please, you know, ask people to reach out to me so that I can keep logging this, and so that I can relay this information to the folks who are making the decisions in the interim before we get back in session.
Yeah, go ahead, Gail. Thanks, Sarah. Yep.
Monique, Erica at gmedic.com. What organization is she?
So basically the all of the economic development corporations around the state got money to hire a COVID navigator. So Green Mountain Economic Development Corp is our regional economic development corp. And so she's the navigator for that.
And so I can email her about the possibility of getting some air filters. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can Vermont Economic Development.com is highlights does a whole outline of what the program is.
Okay, thank you.
And you can sign up as a person that needs it, a business that needs it.
Awesome.
Support for seniors. Carol Freeman couldn't make it because she's jumping on the webinar for the state grant money, and reporting back on that. So I don't see Marianne. Marianne, she couldn't make it either. She said, I put a thing on Facebook. I wasn't sure if she already hits the listserv, but that they are assisting people with Medicare Part D. Hold on, let me just copy it from where I posted earlier. I think I sent it out in an email too. I can't remember, I'm losing track. But anyways, if you know anybody who needs help with Medicare Part D. And churches, Carol?
Well, the Congo Church has gone back to having online services for the next 3 weeks.
Okay. Cool, thank you. And Patty, I just realized, jumping back to business financial, is there any updates from the bank?
Hi. Just that we're starting to take the applications for the forgiveness for the PPP loans. We were able to get over 7.2 million for our customers.
Wow.
So they're starting to notify them of the repayment of forgiveness process. But there's some that are going to be waiting until after the elections because there's so many things are up in the air. But they can start the process now if they'd like. But there's if they're under $50,000, it may be forgiven automatically. So there's some things up in the air still, but some of them are starting to process the forgiveness part of it too.
Patty, I get with my job, I get the emails from the SBA for the their like announcements of their Tuesday and Thursday webinars. Would that be helpful for me to like forward to the Bradford Business Association? Like, would it help relieve anything on your end? or are people better to just reach out to you anyways?
I think they're all set because Crystal has done a good job. She notifies all of our customers and she keeps them updated. So right now I think she's all set.
Okay.
But I can just double check with her.
Okay. Awesome. I don't see Marcy, but Ramsey, any updates on like housing heat stuff?
Just a reminder that we are trying to encourage people to make sure that they have applied for supplemental fuel, and this might be new for some people who have never qualified before. There might be people who qualify now due to the economic situation and jobs and whatever. So in order to get crisis fuel assistance through Capstone, people have to have already applied for supplemental fuel through the state if they are income eligible. And then there's a little window above the state income eligibility, just depending. So if people have questions, they should ask us about their income. If their income has changed drastically and they think they might qualify, they can call us and ask us. But once we get into the really busy season, it's really hard to have someone come who's desperate for fuel and then make them do all these steps that they really needed to do. And I think there might be a lot of people this year who don't know that process. And as far as housing goes, just to be on the radar that the legislature this coming session probably is going to be talking about the general assistance rules that are going to be changing, and communities are going to be being asked to step up and take responsibility for helping to figure out the situations for the homeless in their areas. So we're having a lot of conversations right now in Randolph about this, about what this looks like, what the community can do. I think that this is a really good time for communities to be talking about it because there are these different groups that have come together to help people and to help people be aware, and maybe that there's something coming from all of that there where people can really look at, homeless people aren't just homeless people. They're your neighbors. They're your children in your school. They're people that you work with, people that serve you in different capacities. And we as a community have to be responsible for figuring out what to do when people are insecure in these situations. There's also a really interesting project called Keys to the Valley that is through a couple of the different planning commissions or the regional planning commissions, and they are getting close to having there is a website and there's some information, but they've been doing some really interesting modeling on what it looks like, and since there's an encouragement to do accessory dwellings and more housing because there isn't enough, they're doing some really interesting modeling showing so that people can see in their own neighborhoods or whatever what it might look like in a not overwhelming way to put in extra units. And it's really interesting when you can actually see the aerial view of a town and pop in a couple things that you might have. There's a lot of room in towns that you don't realize it unless you're seeing them from above. So that's a really interesting project that I've been involved a little bit with. So I think that that's encouraging. You know, we are having conversations in our continuum of cares about what happens, and hopefully there'll be more money to support it in the winter. But what happens when the grants run out at the end of December for all this housing that's going on? It's a little frightening because there's not very much housing available right now, and some of the money that was available to try to help with that isn't necessarily going to help as well, because there are projects that can't happen before the end of December to use up some of that money. So hopefully people are trying to be creative and come up with ways to use it, but who knows what's going to happen, so we'll have to see.
Thanks, Ramsey. And yeah, on that same housing note, we're having the forum that we were going to have like the day COVID shut everything down on November 13th from 10 to 11:30, and we'll record it and then stream it on the Space on Main Facebook page. So that's going to include Capstone and Two Rivers and Vital Communities and Housing Vermont and Vermont Housing and Conservation Board and a bunch of others that I'm not thinking of.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to watch the full video of that thing that you passed along from Michael Keith. That
Yeah.
If anybody didn't see the little clip, that goes for Vermont too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a great little video, I thought, and it really it is the same kind of situations we're looking at here. So,
yep.
So watch it if you didn't.
Cool. And Ramsey, one question on your, like, is there something I can share on the fuel assistance piece? Like, do you guys put it on Facebook that I could reshare, or do you have little blurbs that I could send out or something?
Yeah, let me look into that. I'm sure we
Okay.
do on our website, and then we do various different posts on Facebook from time to time. So I don't know what they're doing right now, but
okay.
Let me look and I can send you something.
Okay, cool. Danielle, you had a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, because I know that Bruce and you and I were supposed to talk about the food thing, and of course that kind of, it keeps sort of adjusting with the meals for kids, but I'm wondering if we could sort of do something that joined the fuel and the food, because isn't it kind of linked together as far as some of the application process? And even if it's not, it still would be hitting some of the same people. So if we could do that through Infinite Campus, as far as sending links, maybe, Ramsey, as far as getting people access to the fuel application?
Yeah, it's the same application as for food stamps and Reach Up. So
yeah,
they just need to know that they have to check off those boxes for the fuel assistance.
Okay.
And so that's for people who are homeowners and for renters if they don't have heat included. So it just depends on that. But it is the same application. They can be done online, or they can be done by the phone, or.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know we were looking at different options as far as trying to get information out there and not being too overwhelming with everything that's going on. But I think that might be really good to try and sort of make it very clear. Okay. Just a thought.
Can you send that to either Danielle or me, those links?
Sure.
Yep.
Cool.
Or both. Yep. Thanks.
And then there was I guess on the same food note, there was a grant application. What was it called? I can't remember. I think, Bruce, that was the one that Corinna, you connected with Corinna, and I connected her with the library and mentoring and Little Rivers and a few other people. Gail, has anything, Gail or Nancy that were on that thread, have Ashleen or Corinna or anybody reached out, or did it die after that last?
No, there's a meeting today at 3 o'clock.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so we're meeting today.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I was trying to not be too shove off of it, but I didn't necessarily want to manage everyone.
It'd be helpful, and Karina does stay all over that stuff.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. And I think I have a thought. I've had quite a few people recently reach out who want their family members to go to the food shelf, but they don't know the information. Their family members don't know the information. I don't know if anybody has anything creative. I was just thinking maybe I could just record myself walking into the food shelf and like asking how to get food. I don't know if anybody has any creative ideas, but just to make it
that idea. There's
more approachable. Yeah.
I like that idea. There's an app that teaches foreign language or not foreign language, world languages that way.
Yeah.
Actually, very effective.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe I'll rope somebody else into helping with that.
Yeah, maybe if he gets one of the kids from the hub or something to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that might be kind of cool.
Okay. I haven't seen any updates from Mike on transportation. Gary, I saw you jump on. Did you have anything? Oh, look, you're all dressed up.
Oh, well. Oh, I just got to let my wounds heal from the last 45 minutes of being
Oh,
grilled.
no.
No, nothing but what I mentioned when I wrote to you. Just,
Okay.
COVID is increasing, so we just need to be more vigilant than ever.
Yeah.
And some of the places I'm traveling, I'm seeing that masks are pretty scarce, unfortunately.
All right, thanks, Gary. Anybody else have anything additional?
Oh, Nick, I just had a
Yeah.
quick question with the recent case at Oxbow. I assume that the flu clinic scheduled for this afternoon is still on. Is that correct?
Yeah, I haven't, Daniel, I haven't seen anything different. So, okay. Yep.
It is. I know Emily is helping out with that, so I know what's happening. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, and actually just quickly, everything went as far as like sports and all that stuff went as scheduled, because it was really the piece that was the concern was making sure that there was staffing for teachers for substitutes was the reason for the school closure, and moving to remote wasn't necessarily because they were concerned about contamination or passing on of the virus. So that part of it was good as far as that piece, so the kids were able to sort of keep with some of their normal activities, which I think was really helpful. I did definitely notice, even in talking to family, other parents and stuff, that their kids' stress levels went up significantly with this. So it's easy to forget sometimes that they seem so malleable, but it does quickly affect them and everybody. It's not just them, but it was good that sporting events were able to continue, because that did help bring the stress level down, which makes me really nervous about the winter. As far as the kids, hearing Brian talk about that, that to me is really, it's nerve-wracking for the kids, as far as not having that outlet too. So anyway.
Has anybody thought about putting the funding that typically goes to sports into like outdoor sports, like getting kids on the slopes and stuff?
Well, I know both of the elementary schools do a winter sports activity. I don't know, and I'm sure that we'll probably talk about it a little bit tonight, as far as whether or not those things are going to be available. Busing is still something that we have to be super careful about as far as number of kids on the bus. But for sure, that's something to talk about. And I know it's kind of crazy, but even like my son is playing, he sets up his phone in the driveway and he and his friend play, horse or whatever from, on Skype or, whatever, because they're so bored, but at least they can play basketball, right? And, there's creative ways to do stuff. So I don't know, Brian, do you think we could do like basketball tournaments that way?
It seems like we could also do like cross-country skiing on the golf courses and stuff. I remember years ago I got a grant, I got a bunch of stuff donated for Blue Mountain, and was able to give them to the gym. And so there's definitely people that might want to support, and it just needs to be organized. But we got beautiful
snowshoes would be good too.
What's that?
Snowshoes would be good
and
too.
snowshoeing, sure.
Yeah, those
Does
are great
Bradford
ideas.
have a outside skating rink?
Yeah, at the Elizabeth Park.
And it just needs to be pumped up so that, or people need to take care of it. It needs a good team organized. I remember I did that also for Blue Mountain, and I was the ice rink lady, and daily. It takes a lot of work. So if we can get somebody on that, I think that those kinds of things would be a good focus.
Well, I'm also on the Booster Club at Oxbow, and they're looking for ways to sort of try and provide some alternative things. So I will take these suggestions back as far as options and ideas of things that maybe we could sponsor to try and keep that motivation going. And even if, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily directly related or completely sponsored by the school, I think at this point, if we can get some sort of activities going for kids, that would be good. So.
As far as the rink, I know last year, the Parks and Rec from Bradford put out a thing to the businesses and asked them to sponsor a week. So some of us took a week and were responsible for the upkeep of the rink for that week. So I don't know if they'll be able to do that again this year or not.
Well, I think that Heidi Allen was in charge of that, and she's backing down a little bit from some, you know, being in charge of things. So we might need to kind of get some other people involved.
I know our rec director reached out to me because I'm on the Walter Lee committee to find out if they could kind of do a late request for a liner for the ice rink, because I'm not sure if it was damaged last year or what happened. And so I'm not sure that we're allowed to do that. And I kind of let them know that if there's another way. So that could be, you know, a possible sponsorship from a local business if we can get a liner for that. Because I think in years past, if they hadn't set that up, the fire department flooded a portion of the parking lot down at Oxbow, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, you know,
Yeah.
figuring out some way that, you know, people can continue to get out to skate.
Ryan, what was the cost of the liner?
I don't know the answer to that. He had just
How much
asked,
did they ask for?
well, they didn't submit an application because
Oh.
we only accept applications in May. So
Nancy,
When I bought mine, it was about 1,200. The whole thing was probably about $2,000, and I bet you it's about $1,000 for the thing. And you know, so many teachers are doing GoFundMe's for crayons. I mean, we can't do that for an ice rink.
yeah, my recollection is that the Parks and Rec Commission said a new liner will be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,200. So it's not inexpensive.
And I don't know enough. Somebody had suggested this to me at a soccer game the other night. We were just talking about options for kids because some kid was talking about how they we're doing a senior project on doing some kind of funding for getting lights in the town they lived in for their outdoor basketball court. And we were just talking about not knowing whether there's CARES Act money for towns and things, because I've been focused on other types so I don't know what's available, but wondering if that kind of thing gearing towards what kind of more expanded outdoor sports and later at night and lighting and things like that could be, if there's anything like that could be used, grants or things that could be used for that, because it is going to be more critical this year to be able to have outdoor activities.
Yeah.
There's no money available that I've been told about. So
I can certainly check. I know obviously through the schools, what we have available for funding is they're still sort of trying to sift through what that looks like, but I can certainly take a look. And obviously with athletics, you know, with the shift, if there's not athletics happening, whether there's basketball or whatever, that money that's budgeted for that, there is a good chance that it could be allocated differently through a different approval process. But so that's something that I can try and find out about as far as through the school system.
do you know if they've had a conversation about basketball at the middle and high school level?
They have started to have those conversations. At this point, they're expecting that it'll be challenging, to say the least, possibly no spectators. It's not 100% clear what or how that will look like. We do know as a booster club, we're not going to be charging for entrance if there is even spectators allowed, because it's going to be such limited numbers that are going to be allowed, and players and coaches will count towards those numbers. So I think they're still hoping, I think they were supposed to be having another conversation about it either this week or the beginning of next week to get more details on what it's going to look like.
Thanks, everybody. If I could have Carol, Brian, Patty, anybody I'm forgetting that's a voting person for minutes, stay on. Yeah, and Nancy. Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Take care of yourselves.
Thanks all.
Thanks. So we just we have the set of we weren't able to do any approvals of minutes last time, so it would be the September, I think, 23rd and October 7th minutes. If anybody wants to make a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Please
Second.
it. Thank you. All those in favor? Oh, Nancy, you're talking. Nancy,
Aye.
Nancy, we can't hear you.
I wasn't there for October 7th, so I don't think I can, I think I have to
Okay.
abstain.
No problem. Does that mean 1, 2, 3, 4? We're still good. All right. So with Nancy abstaining, all those in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
and we'll just do it for both sets, except for Nancy on one of them. Cool. Anybody have anything else?
Hey, Monique, I just
Yeah.
want to say, I used to cross-country ski around the golf course, and I was told we could no longer do that.
Okay.
So we might want to check into that before we make plans to do anything.
Oh yeah, totally. And I like on that note, didn't Bob Gray used to make trails like all the way from Oxbow to Newbury back in the day? Like I wonder about just reviving that kind of thing. I don't
Oh,
know.
that would
Cindy
be
Hall
good.
always tells me about it. But yeah, cool. Anything else? Am I sending too many emails?
Nope.
Okay. Ryan made me all self-conscious yesterday when he was teasing me about it. What did you say?
I'm
Nancy?
not sure what the meeting at 3 o'clock is today.
The 3 o'clock one?
Yeah, that Gail talked about.
So that was I wish I could remember the grant. So well, what's the Hunger Free Vermont and OESU both had people who had a grant for food for children on their radar, and they both separately reached out to me, and so I didn't want to necessarily be the one to organize yet another meeting that wasn't really pertaining to me. So I looped in you and Gail, and Growing Peace ended up getting looped in, and Little Rivers and the Hub. So maybe, do you have Gail's email? I would probably just email Bradford Public Library at Gmail
Okay.
and just ask her.
Okay. I'll check my emails too.
All right, cool. Thanks, everybody.
Is that the email from Karina?
Yes.
Okay.
What
Thank
did you say,
you.
Patty?
Monique?
Yep.
1 second, just so we get it out there. There's been no change in our financial status, except we did get 2 cents interest. So now we have $515.02 in our account.
Woo! All right. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't have anything in particular for that $500. Like, we can't use it for reimbursement. If we, the only thing that's on my radar is like maybe if we do signs again or a mailing, or if we want like our own website. But I feel like the town webpage is fine for right now.
Okay. Sounds
Cool.
good.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you,
Yeah.
everybody.